Welcome to Tribeca 2026.
So, what's one thing that you hope that viewers take away from Tupac cover up?
I think there's been a lot of years that people have gone to bed, excuse me, that people have gone to bed asleep at night with a narrative in their mind as to who did it and why, and they're comfortable with it. But when you watch the documentary, what I hope that people get the gist of is number one, question everything. I always say that. Question everything. It doesn't matter where you get it from, who said it, question everything. You can't go wrong if you question everything. And and you don't have to be rude about it. You just question it. Why is this? And what we found in doing cover up was that from 5 minutes after the actual shooting, a narrative was being packaged very, very quickly, and it lasted for a long time. Now, was there much to the narrative? No, but that wasn't the point. It hit a truth within a short period of time after the shooting, so that way people had some sort of an explanation for it. And I think people get comfortable with that. With cover up, we say, hey, look at everything. Don't build a frame and make the picture fit the frame, but take the piece of evidence, take this discussion, this conversation, this document, and take it as far as it can go. Question it, question it, question it, and hopefully you come up with a breakthrough that'll take you on to the next step. So that's really what I'd like people to watch the documentary and take away. You have to question everything.
Oh, facts. I mean, and even not being a conspiracy, I am a conspiracist,
Right?
but I mean, naturally, I just think that things happen a certain way, but there's always a reason behind why something happened in the way that it did.
Hmm.
Um, Happen is just it's human nature. You're going to question everything,
Yep.
but the trick is to actually question it by doing your own research and understand why you're questioning why it went down, the way that it particularly went down. It's human nature.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I was just actually talking to some people earlier this morning, and I said you have to do your homework. You have to get into it, and you have to let the facts talk to you. But you're never going to do that if you sit on the side of the pool and never jump in. That's the truth.
Facts. All right, so let's have some fun as I do with all my interviews, just personal bias, just a little call and response. So, favorite Pac song?
Changes.
All Eyes on Me. Does it actually work as a double album, or is there a lot of filler on that project?
I think there's a lot of filler on that project. That's my take.
No, 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 no. You're absolutely right. And shout out to my friend Edward Bowser over at SoulandStereo.com. He and I dissected this album, and the thing about double album, it's very, 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 very hard to pull off, no matter what the genre is,
Hmm.
but particularly in hip hop, because eventually all of the topics are gonna start sounding the same, and it's
Yep.
almost like the artist is getting lazy.
Yep.
So
Yep.
because you're trying to record it now with Pac, I understand why he did the double project. It's still a very good album, but
Hmm.
there is some
Yeah.
filler on All Eyes on Me. That's
And I
definitely
think
undisputable.
anything that's anything that's born from the same studio session, I think you don't take a break long enough to think of something different. You get into a groove, and to your point, you kind of stay in that groove. And the filler things probably could have gone, but you were in a groove in that session, working in that. And so you tend to just roll with that. And I think that if you step back and say, okay, let's give it a couple weeks and then we come back and look at it again, what do we have? You probably wouldn't make them same decisions. You'd probably have a shorter album and say, you know what? We need to be fresh when we come up with the next album rather than a double album, which is largely, I don't want to say repetitive, but a lot of similar themes, similar beats, similar tracks to where it feels like one long run-on sentence.
Yes.
And yeah, and that's my take on double albums generally.
Do you think Pac would still be rapping in 2026, or do you think he would have moved towards something else if he was still with us?
No, I think Pac would have. I think Pac would have ghostwritten things. I think he probably would have gotten into the producing side of it because he was always fascinated with that. From everybody that talked to me, Frank Alexander's studio, Pac wanted to learn all the facets of production, of not just doing the verse, but how everything got put together, all the multi-tracks and everything else. And with how now it's so much easier than it was. You're not running a 24 channel DAT recorder or whatever. You've got it all digital now. I think that he would have moved his expertise creatively into the producing side of it. He could have written some stuff, done some work on his own, but I think he'd been a hell of a producer because you have an ear for it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? If you know what's good, that you can't change that. That's like people who can sing well versus people who can't sing. You either have it or you don't. And so I think that had he gotten older and kind of matured a little bit, softened up a little bit, I see him as a producer slash mentor for other young rappers coming up. That's where I would have seen him.
yeah, I have two takes. So I definitely think that he would have pivoted more towards the acting field because just the stuff that I know, reading about him,
That's what he wanted to do. Yeah, good point. Yeah, good
everything
point. Yeah,
from
I agree.
auditioning for Bubba and Forrest Gump to Star Wars, ultimately what he and John Singleton were trying to get to. I could see him acting full time, um, and also doing something politics wise, maybe not full on president, but or like a senator, but an alderman really being invested in the community and actually giving back again as an alderman, maybe a mayor of a city. Just he would have been doing something for for the people and actually teaching in the stratosphere with his celebrity using it for
Yeah,
good, almost to the point to where it's like, yeah, Pac's gonna be at this spot. You're thinking it's a concert, but when you show up, it's actually, maybe a seminar on eating healthy or a seminar on voting or, giving back, kids'
right,
shoes, just, a
right,
whole
right.
lot. And I've always, felt again, like, while I'm not the biggest Pac fan, I
Yeah,
do commend him for being bigger than hip hop. He was much more
yeah,
than hip hop.
he
That's why I was
was.
like,
Yeah, he
when I
was.
tell people the reason why he's not in my top five is because he was bigger than the whole genre in general.
Yep.
He was more than a rapper. So that's why I don't have him in my top five. Notice I didn't say he was a
Yeah,
trash rapper, but
right,
he's just
right.
not in my top five because there's much more to that man than
Yeah.
music.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because as you were mentioning that about the politics and stuff like that, I had a side thought, and I'm like, we probably would have had weed legalized a lot sooner.
Yeah,
Had Pac had anything to say about it, we'd have had it legalized a lot sooner than it was. But yeah, I agree. His activism, his roots with the Panthers, everything that made him a force of change, where you get out and talk about things like that, social, electricity should be free, things like that. You know, that's a good politician. I mean, say what you will about like Mamdani and some of these other ones that are more progressive mayors and things, say what you will about their politics. I think our country is looking for thought leaders, people that just don't go with the same status quo, people that want to shake it up a little bit, want to change it a little bit. And a guy like Bach would have been perfect for that. So I appreciate that point of view.
definitely. All right. So for the final question, so we mentioned Pac's acting and again knowing the
Mhm.
roles that he possibly wanted to do between auditioning for Forrest Gump, Mace Windu, and Star Wars. I think for me, the biggest regret that I think didn't happen was Pac playing Malik in Higher Learning. Just reading John Singleton's book that recently came out and the way that he explained it, that Leonardo DiCaprio was going to be Remy. So just already knowing that where Leo was at that point in his life, being that young, being that good, see him and Pac go head to head, both being under 26 and both being that strong as
Mhm.
actors. I would love to see them just, a battle of the wits. And then knowing that
Yeah.
Singleton originally wanted Sidney Poitier to play Professor Phipps, and just
Right.
seeing Pac and Sidney kind of, if they would have had the chance to go, on screen with that
Mhm.
mentor, Pac probably would have been next level with, the acting. Because Sidney would have had
I
it been
think
in his
so.
ear and told him,
Yeah.
like, young man, this is where you go, do
Exactly. Get the
this.
mentorship. Yeah,
Yeah.
get the mentorship going on. Yeah. Well, but I will tell you, I kind of think back in my mind, he'd have made a badass Mace Windu because he was young. He had
Yep.
that energy. And man, I love Sam. Don't get me wrong. I got nothing wrong with Sam. He's the man. But in terms of adding that youthful energy, Mace Windu, you give him that lightsaber, you know, Pac would have had it. I could see that. I really could see that. That was one of those things where you heard about it and you're like, whoa, really? And then be like, wait a minute. Yeah, he had a lot of youthful energy that he would have added to it, and I think that would have been cool. I mean,
Well, all right, sir. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to shop it with me. I said I know you're on the ground in Tribeca. I'm extremely busy doing Tribeca interviews, but where can fans find the doc and where can they find you on social media?
well, we have the Tupac Assassination channel, which is on YouTube, and that's usually where I hang out and I do some live streams and I interact with the fans on that pretty regularly. But we also, Tupac Cover Up is on Tubi, and that's the best place to see it because it's free. How can you argue with free, right? No downside. But it's on Amazon. There's several different YouTube channels that have it now. So it's all over the place. If you look for it, you can get it. And we're just happy. I think we just celebrated 26 million watch minutes on the show. And we love that number. That's a good number. I like that when it shows when people are engaged. So, so yeah, check it out. Tubi, YouTube, Amazon, it's all over.
All right, sir. Well, thank you again for taking time out of your schedule, and I'm looking forward to all things Pac, and hopefully we get that Biggie doc.
Yeah, me too. Hope let's make it work. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Hi, this is Rihanna.
Hey, what's up? This is Ludacris.
You're rocking with the best. It's Reviews and Done.